Hello and welcome to your curriculum development series, a series of videos to help you to tweak, enhance, review and create the best curriculum that you can for your subject. My name's Lisa Ashes and I've been working with curriculums since at least 2012 when I developed the Manglish curriculum, which was about connecting the curriculum through maths and English at the heart. Since then, I've worked internationally, nationally, across phases in education and in the public and private sector to support schools in developing, tweaking, reviewing, rewriting or revolutionising curriculums. So I've got an idea of many curriculums and what the possibilities are, and I just want to share some of that knowledge with you and help you to review and reflect on your own curriculum. Hello and welcome to video 1 of 3 on curriculum development. The ideas behind these videos are to help you to reflect upon your current position. It doesn't matter how brilliant your curriculum is or whether you are at a weaker starting point. It matters that you are getting together, discussing how you can make that better, and also taking action to make your curriculum the best that it can possibly be. In this video, we are looking at your ambition, the purpose of your curriculum, and the scope in your curriculum. So thinking about what's possible. In the session, I'll be asking you to pause the video at certain points to have a discussion about the ideas that are raised as a department. You are reflecting on your own curriculum and thinking about the design, thinking about what you're all working together to create. What we want is for you to be able to look at the essential ingredients of your curriculum and to work together to think about how you can move that through the levels. So it doesn't matter where you are in these levels, it matters that you're considering each essential ingredient in order to design a curriculum that is the best for your students. We'll begin with the vision. The following activities that we have designed should help you to accurately rate your position. It's important to look accurately, not at what we think is happening, but what is really happening with your curriculum. Because if we look accurately and we are honest about our position, then we can make things better. So we want you to accurately rate your position. We want you to consider how improvements might be made, but also to evoke really purposeful conversations with your department, no matter what your starting point, so that you can work together to get excited about the curriculum that you have on offer, so that you can all know exactly what it is that you are wanting to achieve through this curriculum. I wanted to start just with the reflection upon these two schools. Both of these schools are quite famous in their own way. Michaela, probably the one that most people will recognise as it's been on the news, and the head teacher is quite famous. But both of these schools began in the same year with a really clear vision of what they wanted to achieve. Both of these schools got all of the teachers on board and really put a lot of emphasis and focus on making sure that all the teachers are delivering their curriculum in the same way, with the same intention, with the same vision. Now at Michaela, the focus is on rules, on authority, on sanctions and knowledge, and the teacher is really in control and directing the learning. At XP School, it's a focus on skills and knowledge together through the delivery of the curriculum in projects. They create project teams to learn all of the content. The teacher is very much the facilitator. Really clear vision from both schools that they want to achieve excellent outcomes for their students. What they teach and how they teach it is very, very different. However, both schools were started as free schools in the same year. Both schools went through 5 years of teaching, and in their first set of GCSE results, both schools achieved outstanding results. So it didn't matter that they taught in different ways or the knowledge that was taught was different. It mattered that they had a really clear vision and everybody worked together to achieve that. All of the teachers of both of these schools were excited by the vision. They knew what they wanted a child of this school to achieve. They knew what they wanted a child of this school to be able to do, to be able to articulate, to be able to act like, the knowledge and the skills they wanted from their students, and both achieved outstanding results. Both of these schools went through Ofsted for the first time in this same year. And again, both of these schools got outstanding as the result. It's not about what you choose to teach or how you choose to teach it. It's about being really clear that what you are teaching is the best for your students. How you're teaching it is the best for your students. And you're all collectively working together to achieve that. So a vision should not simply be words on a page. It allows us to collectively understand our goals as a department, what we want our students to know, what we want our students to act like, to be like, as a result of their learning with us over however many years their course runs with you. So a vision should really get you excited as a department, to help you to know what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it. So I want to start with an activity where we can see how clear our visions are. I want you to do this individually, so no cheating from each other. On a post-it or on a piece of paper, I want you to individually write down your answers to this question. What difference will completing a course in your subject make to all learners who have studied this course with you? Think about what they will know at the end of their time with you. Think about what they'll be able to do as a result of your teaching. Think about how their perspective of the world might be different as a result of having a course with you in your department. How will they engage in further study as a result of working with your department? Now, that final question, not all students will go on to study your subject. However, your subject can have an impact on their further study. So consider that. We're not just thinking about your own subject in further study. Pause the recording and take part in this activity. Once you have completed and shared your results with each other, consider how closely aligned those results are. So consider how well everybody can articulate what it is a child can do differently, think differently, know differently as a result of their time with you. Okay, pause the recording and give this a go. Now that you've had a chance to talk about your collective vision, I want you to honestly rate your clarity of vision. Do all staff know exactly what it is that they want students to be able to know, to be able to do at the end of their time with you? If you all had a really clear idea of that, then you may have a very established curriculum, a very established curriculum vision. You know what it is that you want to create. However, if the responses were similar, but not exactly the same, there was maybe some argument between what came out of what you are trying to achieve, then perhaps you're emerging or developing. Perhaps everybody said something completely different or actually really struggled to articulate that. So if you are feeling like you were very different, it's time to create your collective vision. You might want to revisit a vision and make it more collective so that you all do agree on this is what you're attempting to achieve. Perhaps you did all agree, but you want to perfect your vision. You want to look out for some examples of how you can make it better. Or perhaps you want to strengthen your vision. It could be even more than it already is. The next activities will allow you to think about how you might do that. The first activity is a quick activity where I want you to consider these two vision statements. So the statement number 1 is, students who learn with us will change the world. And statement number 2 is, students will leave knowing everything there is to know about my subject. How well do you think these statements would support your department in designing and delivering a high quality curriculum, and why? Pause the recording and have that discussion now. Now that you've had a chance to think about that, think about how actionable these statements are. How clear are these statements? Then go back to your own department vision and ask, is it actionable? Students who learn with us will change the world. Students who leave knowing everything there is to know about my subject. Now, can you really teach everything there is to know about your subject? Do you even know everything there is to know about your subject? Probably not. And so therefore, that's not an actionable statement. Wow, imagine if we could achieve it, but it's not something that we can actually take action on. We don't have time in our curriculum for that. And students who learn with us will change the world. Is it really clear? What will they do? How will they change that world? How does your subject lead to that? Again, really big thinking, but not really clear thinking. So think about your own vision statement. You might have this already written out, or it might be something that you're wanting to develop. If it's something already written out, ask, is it actionable? Is it clear? Also ask, does it drive us all forward to actually want to improve our curriculum provision? So if you're reading your curriculum statement and you're planning a lesson for tomorrow, you're thinking, yes, my lesson leads to this kind of thinking because it's this step on the ladder. You know, is it really clear and driving what we do in our classrooms every day? Is it clear that what we want to achieve? So pause the recording again and have that discussion about your own vision statement. As well as your individual vision, the entire Multi-Academy Trust also have a vision which you are part of. So before we look even further, I want you to consider how your vision feeds the vision of the whole trust. So does your vision, it doesn't have to say these words exactly, but does it ensure that you are aiming for all to thrive in an ever-changing world? Does it ensure that the start of the child's life does not determine their future? Does it help students to act as agents of change? Is your department a place of hope? Consider how your vision feeds the whole school vision. We want students who are inquisitive, who are persistent, imaginative, disciplined, and collaborative. Consider how your vision supports students in developing these skills, as well as the skills required for your curriculum. We want students to have these habits of learning as habits for the rest of their lives. When everybody works together, then students will learn that this is not something that only happens in one subject. These are skills for life, to be inquisitive, to be persistent, imaginative, disciplined, and collaborative. We want our students to leave school with these skills. Consider how your department vision fits in with the whole Multi-Academy Trust vision. Think about how you can deliver these skills through your subject and how it can also be part of your vision. Pause the recording and think about how your department vision supports, it does not have to exactly replicate, but supports the whole MAT vision. Now it's time for another activity. This activity will take time because we are going to scrutinise the visions of other departments in order to help you inform your own. So you have got a range of example visions from across the curriculum. And you'll also find a link to the curriculum within the document. Now, as a department, read the vision statements for your department and ask, is it clear what the department wants to achieve? Is the vision realistic for all students? Is the vision achievable within curriculum time? Is this a memorable vision? Would this vision drive the whole department to want to continually improve? So you've got two examples from each subject area. You might want to stay within your own subject area and only focus on those examples, or you might actually want to take a look at a couple of different subject areas too. These examples have been chosen so that you can see how other departments across the country have put together their vision and their curriculum. So once you have read the vision statements of the other departments and scrutinised them, then come back to your own department vision as though it was an example, as though it was something that you were scrutinising. Don't do this first.
First, scrutinize the other visions so that you can get into the mindset of looking objectively before you come back to your own. Ask the same questions of yours. Think about how clear it is, how your vision is realistic, how it's achievable in curriculum time, memorable, but most of all, how it drives you as a team to want to continually improve. Once you've investigated the example curriculums, and then you've come back to your own and scrutinized it with fresh eyes, use your investigations to answer these questions. Can we add clarity to our vision? How might we make our vision both ambitious and achievable? How can we make our vision achievable within curriculum time? Consider how you might link to other departments. How can we ensure that our vision is memorable for everybody? How can we use our vision to inspire us to want to continually improve? Now that you've scrutinized your vision, I'm sure that you are starting to gather ideas about how you can make that vision more memorable and make it something that your department really believe in, and it drives your curriculum. It's why you do what you do. But we're ready for part 2, and we are thinking about challenge. First of all, I'd like you to have a go at this riddle as a department. It's not about getting the exact right answer, although finding the right answer is part of it. Think about how you approach this, how it feels to work this out. You might want to split into 2 teams and do this as a competition, or you might want to all work it out together. You have an empty room. It's empty apart from a candle. So picture a really small candle about this big, some matches, ordinary matches, a box of pins, and they are drawing pins. So the ordinary drawing pins that you probably have sticking in your walls in your room right now. Now your goal is to have the lit candle 5 feet off the ground without having to hold it there. You've tried melting some wax to the bottom of the candle and sticking it to the wall, but that didn't work. How are you going to get the lit candle 5 feet off the ground without having to hold it there? Pause the recording and give it a go. Hopefully you've had a chance to consider that and you didn't just keep on playing and find the right answer. But what I wanted you to experience was the desirable difficulty of working through this riddle. Now, for some people, this wouldn't have been a desirable difficulty. If anybody decided to sit back and let everybody else answer the question, then for you, perhaps you see this as a bit of a challenge. But what I've created here is something where you can visualize all of the items that you have to use within that room. So that means that you will be able to use that information to make connections, to ask questions, to discover ideas. And I said, I've created this. This is a 35-year-old riddle, which was originally designed to see how people would use these items. So it's a creativity test. Often people will start with, can I put it on my head? No. Can I throw it in the air? Because then it'll be 5 feet at some point. No. They ask if they are 5-foot matches. No. They begin to think about how they might build towers. So hopefully some of those things are familiar to what you've just done. The answer is that you take the box, tip out the pins, take one of the pins, pin it to the wall at 5 feet. Then you take the candle, pop it onto the shelf that you've just made, and use the match to light the candle. So hopefully you got the right answer. And if you did, you should get a sense of satisfaction that comes from the learning process that you've just been through. It's not too easy and it's not too difficult. It's something that is the sweet spot of learning, because you get to wrestle with the information and achieve an outcome that makes you go, yes, I got the right answer. And that's what we want from our students. We want to create a desirable difficulty with every lesson that we deliver to them. We don't want it to be too easy and we don't want it to be too difficult. Have a go at this next riddle. What has hands that cannot clap? Tick tock, tick tock. Hopefully you all just shouted clock and you were ready to move on, because it's too easy. And if learning is too easy, we can easily get bored. We can switch off from it. What we want is that sense of satisfaction that comes from just the right amount of difficulty. Now consider this riddle. Why is the distant universe so homogeneous that when the Big Bang Theory seems to predict larger measurable inistrophies of the night sky than those observed? Cosmological inflation is generally the accepted solution, but are other possible explanations, such as a variable speed of light, more appropriate? Now, the science department might be looking at this differently, because this is an unsolved physics problem. So to us mere mortals, this is very difficult. And again, if something's too difficult, we're going to switch off. Often it comes from that fear of looking stupid. I often get shouted out as the answer to this, lots of silly things, because people recognize that it's too much. But if we do this to our students, we can be turning them off learning. So what we need to consider is how can we get the challenge of what our curriculum has to offer just right. So think about your end points. At the end of Key Stage 3, at the end of Key Stage 4, at the end of Key Stage 5, at the end of each unit of work. How can you build the knowledge and skills over time to achieve these ambitious endpoints? Remember, if they're too ambitious, that we could be turning students off learning. And if they're too easy, we're also turning students off learning. We need to get the challenge just right. So the following activities, what I want you to focus on is accurately rating your current position for challenge. Consider how improvements might be made to what you offer, and also, again, those conversations between you. I want them to be powerful so that you can improve. No matter what your starting point is, there's always that room for improvement. So what I want you to do is I want you to pause the recording, and I want you to consider just one topic, something that will be covered across multiple key stages. So think about how a skill or a piece of knowledge will develop over each key stage. So what does it look like in year 7, in year 8, in year 9, in year 10, 11, 12, 13? As you're considering this skill or this knowledge and how it develops, think about the reality of how that develops as well. So try and be as honest and real as possible. If I was to do this for English, for example, it might be that I would choose the skill of analysis. I know when students come in at year 7, they don't know how to write an analytical essay. It's not something that's covered in primary school. So I know in year 7, it's an appropriate challenge to teach them how to write an analytical essay. So by the end of year 7, all students should be able to write an analytical essay. Now, if I was then to do the same thing in year 8, that's not an appropriate amount of challenge. They need to be able to perfect it, or they need to be able to do it in a different way. So in year 8, I might ask students to start to conceptualize responses when they are developing an analytical essay. So by the end of year 8, an appropriate challenge for students would be to write a conceptual essay. Then in year 9, again, I don't want students to be following exactly the same thing. I want their skills to get more difficult. So in year 9, I want students to write conceptual comparisons. So by the end of year 9, all students will be able to write analytical essays that are conceptual, and they also are able to write comparative essays that are conceptual. So you can see how that is a skill. Then the knowledge is knowing how to write the essay, knowing what goes into that essay, and each year it gets progressively more difficult. So consider one area from your subject. It may be a skill, or it may be a particular topic and knowledge content. How does it develop in challenge across the years? Pause the recording and give this a go now. Now that you've established what challenge looks like at each key stage for a specific piece of knowledge or skill, let's take a look at what that looks like in reality for students' work. Collect one exercise book at random from each year group and find that topic or skill. Now you're using these randomly selected textbooks not to judge the teachers or to judge what's happened in lessons. You are using them to think about the difference between knowledge in year 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So you will ask these questions. Are the tasks challenging learners at the right level? Look back on how you said that the skill should develop or the knowledge should develop in the previous activity. And does the challenge obviously increase when we look at it in the books year upon year? What do you notice about the skills or the subject knowledge of learners over time? How might you increase challenge without overloading the student? How might you improve student performance through revisiting the challenge in this topic? So pause the recording and give this really insightful activity a go. Really consider how you can develop the challenge over the year groups using the reality of what you see in their books. Now what? Use your investigations so far in challenge to consider where you are with challenge in your department, in your curriculum offer. Now, again, it doesn't matter where you are, there's always possibilities to strengthen it and make it better. So perhaps you need to gather knowledge of what challenge could look like for specific topics or skills that you teach. Or maybe you need to work together to improve the challenge in every year group. Find examples of good practice of this for specific topics. Question the topics that could improve student performance. Plan to research and take action with regards to challenge in these areas. Or perhaps you're doing really well and you're challenging your students at an appropriate level, but you might consider how you might even further challenge your learners by experimenting with challenge. Really focus in here on the common barriers to learning in your subject. What things, when they get to year 11, do your students still struggle with? How might you build challenges in earlier year groups that don't teach to year 11 as if you're teaching year 11s, but really try to remove those barriers before they're at the end of their time in GCSEs or perhaps A-levels? Could you even make challenge cross-curricular?